Reminder before we begin the meeting, anyone that still wants to fill out a card and speak on an item, please be sure that we speak on that, that you fill out the card ahead of the item being mentioned. It's 6 o'clock. I'm going to ask Commissioner Thomas if he will lead us in invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Please join me. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We're just thankful that we can just call on your name publicly and just bless that we have the assurance that you're there and you're listening to our concerns. I just ask you to bless our nation, bless the leaders from Washington, D.C. down to the local level. Ask you to just be present with us tonight, guide our hearts, guide our minds, allow us to just move forward in a sense of unity for our community and just for the benefit of your kingdom. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Is this when we pull the consent items?
Yes, sir.
I want to pull item 11 off consent.
Pulling item 11 off consent.
Al, that's number 2 I've done that, isn't it?
You're on a roll.
Yep.
Motion to approve with the changes.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to approve agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we're going to have citizens to be heard. Our first citizen to be heard is Ms. Raven Fears, to be followed by Taylor Phillips.
Good evening, Commissioners. I want to speak about something on the consent agenda that actually Commissioner did offer to pull off, and I said, no, go ahead and leave it. I do see there's an amendment to it. It is the amendment of the 2012 through 2015 LHAP. Be careful. If you amend it retroactively, it will disqualify several people, and the county will end up paying back a lot of money. So I just wanted to make sure that's airtight. I did see, like I said, there was an amendment. Everything is not amended. There's just one little document. So you make sure that that's how it's going to go. If not, it's going to cost people a lot of money.
Thank you. The next is Taylor Phillips, to be followed by Mr. David Pienta.
Evening. My name is Taylor Phillips, 95 Bunting Drive, running for County Commission District 2. Come tonight to ask the Commission to reconsider the majority view expressed at our last meeting, and that you consider asking the DOT to place the highway realignment proposal on pause, consider alternatives. And I ask this in part in light of new information, at least new to me. I have here minutes from the June meeting of the CRTPA, subject to their approval, of course, at the next meeting. It appears the CRTPA came to the conclusion that they are also going to ask the DOT to put the realign on pause. I'm quoting, Commissioner Daly made a motion to draft a letter of support aligning with citizens and request that other alternatives be researched. Motion was unanimously passed. In the minutes of this meeting, we read that Commissioner Merritt stated that he does not feel that the funding should be removed, but felt that the current design concept will not address safety concerns of the students, even though at our last meeting here we heard Commissioner Merritt tell us that the realign would be the safest choice for our children, including his own. From these minutes we also read that a Mr. Paulk, the FDOT, has proposed a 4-laning of the highway. However, he goes on to say that the intersection improvements are interim improvements and in lieu of 4-laning which cannot be completed at this time. So it sounds further that tax dollars would be spent on only an interim improvement and potentially a waste of money. Further, it seems, at least to me, that it is incumbent upon Commissioner Merritt to report to us here in Wakulla County that on June 16th, this meeting, he evidently voted in favor of sending a letter of support aligning with citizens to research alternatives, and instead, on August the 18th meeting here, expressed to us the exact opposite point of view. I ask that this board follow the lead of CRTPA and ask the DOT to research alternatives to the realign. And I happen to have brought a few copies of the minutes of that meeting with me in case anyone's interested. Thank you. Respectfully submitted.
Our next speaker is Mr. David Pienta, to be followed by Mr. Larry Roberts.
Good evening, Commissioners. I don't have an agenda item tonight. I asked an item to be added to the agenda, and Commissioner Kessler and I spoke, and he asked that I speak at this point to see if y'all would take it up. The issue I would like to speak about is the sidewalk along Songbird Avenue. Currently, according to my research, it is sitting on county property. When Mr. Ben Boynton built that subdivision, he had the county accept the sidewalk, or the road, accept the culverts, but he did not specifically in writing mention the sidewalk that is along that culvert. Being it's on county property, we have a concern that should someone fall, hurt themselves, whether it mean maintenance, who's responsible? Being it's on county property, we believe it's the county's issue. We'd like the commissioners to take it up and inspect the documents that the county has on file in reference to who actually has that property. But all the zoning maps, the plats, everything I've researched indicates that the county owns that property. So if y'all will add an agenda item for the next meeting to address that issue, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And your next speaker is Mr. Larry Roberts, to be followed by Mr. David Damon.
Larry Roberts, I'm Choppy. Three quick items. One is that filibuster that you had last meeting. I think it was the last meeting. It was the last meeting I attended anyway. That lengthy presentation I thought was inconsiderate of the citizens, and of course Dr. Kessler. Mr. Thomas, I don't know where you get all this hate for the guy. I think he's a good guy.
I love him. I have no hate for him whatsoever.
All right. Also, the 98-319 intersection, I too, I don't have any children in school, but if I had any, I would like that intersection to be as safe as possible, and I don't think directing all that traffic in there at that point right across from school is a good idea. I hadn't counted the cars, but I know it at least doubles the amount of traffic in front of that school. The ideal would be to figure out a way to 319 and across the road run directly into Jack Crum Road by moving those. At least I think would be a good idea. Last but not least, talk a little briefly about Mr. Cushman. I was critical of him for claiming to be an F-16 pilot, and I find out now he's a T-38 pilot and a whole bunch of other things. I'll shut up and get off his back. Otherwise, he'll get been astronaut like Senator Nelson. Thank you.
Okay, our final speaker for citizens to be heard is David Damon.
Thank you, Commissioners. David Damon, Crawfordville. Commissioner Kessler introduced the 3/19/98 realignment resolution at the last BoCC meeting. The amended resolution simply asks FDOT to hit the pause button and answer questions that should have been answered long ago. If you had passed the resolution, other alternatives could have been considered. Would a traffic light alone have been better? Maybe a pedestrian walkover. Harry Reid, the head of the CRTPA, the group that's charged with making recommendations to FDOT, suggested a roundabout. Any of these improvements could have been done for a fraction of the cost and at no cost to taxpayers of Wakulla County, since there would be no need to move utilities. Is this intersection really the best use of $10.5 million in taxpayer dollars? Is this intersection worth the $420,000 that will be coming directly from Wakulla County taxpayers? Aren't there intersections that really are dangerous where the money is really needed? We keep hearing all about cutting government spending, but you four seem to be good with spending it on projects that benefit fellow commissioners. Instead of using the resolution as an excuse to attack Commissioner Kessler, here are some of the questions that this board could have been asking. Why did FDOT not follow their own protocol by failing to do a traffic safety study of the existing and proposed intersection? FDOT traffic counts show over 28 million vehicles going through that intersection over a 5-year period. In that 5-year period, there have only been 6 fender benders and only 1 injury. We keep hearing about safety in this dangerous intersection. Where's the data to support these claims? Based on FDOT data, the current intersection appears to be very safe. How can one appraisal for Commissioners Moore's 2.6 acres come in at $142,000 while another comes in at $885,520? A 600% increase. This is taxpayer dollars. You guys are responsible for looking out for it. On August 1st, 2013, coordination meeting, Merritt indicated that the county staff were all on board, and I quote from the minutes, Randy indicated that concept is what they were expecting. Who exactly was expecting this? Not the current sheriff's department, not the current school board. Had the taxpayers footing the bill been notified of this plan? It's clear now that nobody was aware of this plan until after Moore got his check for $885,000 and it came out in the Wakulla News. Why was the board and everyone else kept in the dark by Commissioner Merritt as this county's representative of the CRTPA? Other questions would be, who directed County Administrator David Edwards on September 11th, 2012 to contact FDOT on behalf of Wakulla County, urgently requesting funding for this project? As Commissioners, you took an oath to look out for the interest of citizens of the Wakulla County. It appears to me that you have forgotten about the citizens and are simply protecting the financial interest of a fellow Commissioner, all the while misleading the citizens of Wakulla County.
Thank you. Your time's up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to move into our public hearing, our first public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first public hearing is a request for board approval to conduct a public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance amending the county code relating to littering.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made and second. Do I have any citizens to speak on this issue? Any discussion amongst Commissioners? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next one.
Do you want me to do the other ones?
This agenda item request, this is, our second public hearing, third public hearing. This item number 3. This agenda item requests board approval to conduct the public hearing and adopt the annual rate resolution for solid waste services.
So moved at $196 a year.
Second.
And I'd like to thank Ralph for his research on that issue. I was convinced it was in the contract, and you found out it wasn't, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I also want to thank Ralph for the same thing, for doing your for being able to find that in the contract.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's going to stay. Do I have a motion and second?
Yes.
Is there any more discussion amongst Commissioners? Just want to be sure what this is for those who are watching at home. This will mean that that it will stay at 196. Some may have got a trim. Well, everyone got a trim notice in the mail, and your trim notice might have indicated that the solid waste was going to be 199, but this will keep it at 196. It won't be going up.
Waste Pro screwed up when they negotiated their contract. They should have put an automatic CPI increase. They didn't, so.
This is optional, so the county's maintaining the option of keeping it at 196. Okay. Any more discussion? Okay. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Item tab number 4. This agenda item requests board approval to conduct public hearing.
Motion to approve.
Second. Thanks, Howard.
Fire Protection
We have
Service.
a motion made and second for the fire annual assessment resolution, which also is staying the same. Correct, David?
That's correct.
This is also staying the same, and there's no increase to this either. I don't have any citizens speak on it. Is there any discussion amongst Commissioners? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
I'll move approval of tabs 5, 6, and 7.
Second.
Okay.
For the public, that is, those tabs are Northwoods Annual Assessment, Tupelo Ridge Annual Assessment, and Brook Forest Annual Assessment for road paving. These are
Road paving of private subdivisions.
private
They
subdivisions.
pay for it.
This puts it on. All this does is puts it on the tax roll for those citizens that are affected.
And only the citizens that live in Northwoods
That's right.
and Tupelo
That's
and
right.
Brook Forest will realize this abatement. No one else.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is for tab 5, tab 6, and 7. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion amongst Commissioners? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Motion passes. So next, I think that winds up our public hearings. We're going to have our first awards and presentations. Are going to be Miss Joanne Palmer she's going to be giving an announcement of the coastal cleanup.
Thank you. Joanne Palmer, Crawfordville. Keep Wakulla County Beautiful has been very busy this summer, and we will continue well into fall. First, we're excited to once again host the annual Coastal Cleanup on Saturday, September 20th, beginning at 9 a.m. in Downey Park, where you'll get some bags and gloves and an assignment of an area that needs attention. And then following the cleanup, Walmart provides a complimentary hot dog lunch, and we give everybody a T-shirt. First 500 people, I should say. Gulf Specimens Marine Lab will be open for free admission for all the participants, as well as this year we're having the San Marcos de Apalache Historic State Park as one of our sites, and they're going to offer a free tour, free admission, and an interpretive tour free of charge for participants as well. So we appreciate their support. And then on September 27th, I know the commissioners have noticed that Keep Wakulla County Beautiful has begun a landscape project there, and we have we're going to be putting in on the 27th over 300 new plants, which have all been donated. We've raised money, and we got a La Florida grant for the wildflowers. And then on October the 11th, a lot of people ask, and so I'd like to announce our hazardous waste will be held in conjunction with Jefferson County and ESG Services, and that's at Trice Lane at from 9 to 1 on Saturday, October the 11th. So we need volunteers. We're always glad to do whatever we can for this county, and we thank the commissioners for their support. If you have any questions, just get in touch with us.
Well, Joanne, can they bring electronics to the next Amnesty
Yes,
Day?
electronics.
That includes CRTs, your tubes?
Anything with a plug, anything, any fluorescent tubes. They bring, a lot of people bring latex-based paint, which is fine because they do use it, but oil-based paints, oil, gas, anything like that, old telephones.
Computers, copiers,
anything
small
with,
stuff.
Exactly.
And the paint's mainly household paint, correct?
Any paint.
You're going to collect anything?
Anything,
Okay.
yes. And
Not commercial this time, right?
well, no, we try to limit it, but we do have people that we don't want them throwing it away.
What about tires?
No tires. And that brings up a new point. We just had the same, I think we showed you last time when I did a presentation about why we need the new litter ordinance, that there's a tire dump being done. Steve just found 43 new tires this weekend, and that's in the same exact dumping spot. So we really need to do something about that, because Waste Pro wants to charge Keep Wakulla County Beautiful $10 a piece to dispose of them, and it's actually against Florida Department of Environmental Protection rules for us to pick them up because we're not a real tire handler. So that is really a problem. So any help you can give us on figuring out who's doing that, we appreciate it.
You try a game camera?
Well, we're not divulging any secrets here.
Yeah. I think Commissioner Kessler had a question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I've been asked by citizens of how to handle their day-to-day batteries, that not the car batteries, but the ones that you use in flashlights, etc.
Right. What I recommend is that you put a jar under your kitchen sink and just store them up. That's what a lot of people do. That way, if they do leak, they're not leaking into underneath your cabinet. But that's what I do, and that's what most people who come that have a lot of batteries have done. They've just stored them up until twice a year we have one in the spring and in the fall.
My understanding, too, back from my days running the hazardous waste thing, but if the container says dispose of properly, they say that means throw it in the trash. Like if it's a can of off or something like that. And I don't know what batteries say on them, but if it says dispose of properly, that means you can safely put it in your household garbage.
Right. We're more concerned about the lithium batteries, the old type that were used in cameras and things like that. But we don't want to dissuade anybody from saving anything that they think might be hazardous. So we take whatever, except for tires, good point, people bring us.
I thank you, Joanne, for everything that you do with Wakulla County Beautiful, and I thank you all for everything you're doing to keep our county beautiful.
Well, thank you. I love what I do. Have a good support team. Thanks.
Our next presentation is going to be by Cherie Keeler. It will be the Restore Act update.
Those are tires burning in the background.
Yeah, it's not oil, it's tires. Okay,
what I try to do is there's been a movement of restore activity in the last few weeks, and so, is that better?
Yeah.
So I try to put together a high-level, linear, organized presentation, even though everything that's happened is not linear and it's not organized. So,
It's called LOP, I think. Linear Organized Presentation.
okay. And this is another rendition of the funding chart in case you want to see it again. Again, Wakulla gets 4.9% of the 75%, of the 35%, of the 80%, of the 100%.
You'll have to speak into that mic.
Okay. So as you can see, as the lower it goes, the less the percentage is. And I apologize, I should have put the print darker, but basically what this is a simplified flow of how the process will go now that the interim Treasury rules have been issued and some of the money from the Transocean settlement is in the trust fund. The first thing is we had the Restore Act Treasury Rule guidance and staff training. I've gone through one webinar already, and I have another one scheduled on Monday for use of the U.S. Treasury grants.gov grant system and their financial system. The second process, which you can see on your computers but not on here, is project input and project vetting. And I've got a separate slide to go over a recommended process that I reviewed with David last week on a potential process for getting applications and vetting those. And I can't see it either on my own.
I can barely see it on this computer.
Okay, I was trying to condense it down to about 5 slides. I guess I did it, you just can't read it. The next thing would be to develop a draft multi-year plan and do the public here. It has to be out to the public for 45 days for public comment and vetting. Then you submit your plan to the U.S. Treasury along with an operational assessment, self-assessment. They review everything, and then your plan is approved by the Treasury or accepted. And then you put grant applications in for each separate project. So you don't put one grant application in for all your money. You have to put a grant application in for each individual project that the board has approved to go into the plan.
Now, Sheree, these aren't the consortium funds, these are
County funds.
Just for Wakulla County.
Right.
Because there's also the consortium, then there's the states altogether.
Right. There's five different pots. There's the council plan pot, which I call the federal pot, and that is a competitive pot of money for all 5 states. There's over over thousands of projects in for that money already, but it's very specific for the youth. It's for environmental and limited economic projects. Then we have the state level pot, which is the Gulf Consortium, and they are going through a process now to hire a consultant that will handle putting together the state's multi-year or state expenditure plan. And then each county in Florida gets a percentage of pot 1 to implement at their local level. And the process and the procedure, they're almost similar. There's just a few nuances between each one. So anyway, you do your grant application, your self-assessment, you submit everything to the Treasury. Hopefully they approve everything, you get everything back, and then you can start drawing down your funds and implementing your projects. So the second slide, which is the recommended process for accepting and vetting projects, one recommendation is that we use the consultant that the consortium is going to select, because hopefully counties will be allowed to piggyback off of that agreement. So we'll have a firm on board that has all of the expertise. We'll be able to leverage our funds. We'll be able to maximize our funds. We'll be able to use them to vet our projects. They will review the project applications for feasibility, economic sustainability. If somebody has an economic development project, they will have scientists who help evaluate on best science available, which I understand that the Treasury is going to set standards for that based on national studies and science and not necessarily leave it to each local to come up with a methodology.
This is a consultant to apply for the grant, right?
No, a consultant would come in, and what they would do is they would basically take my place for the Restore Act draft plan. And what they would do is they would work with the board and the Restore Act committee to come up with priorities within the criteria, the 10 criteria in the Restore Act.
What?
Okay, I can sit down now. And they would work with you to help establish those priorities. They would set up a web portal that citizens, organizations would, and even the county, would submit their projects, and then they would take all of those applications and they would review them, and if it's not a consultant, then it's going to be some county staff.
Is that something the Regional Planning Council could do, for example?
I don't know, but I don't know if they would have the time to devote to it, because it is going to be, in the front end, it is going to be a full-time job.
That's something that we've got to determine as we go through this process. I think probably in December or January, when I think the consortium will be hiring or either not hiring a consultant. And there's some positives and negatives that we're thinking at this time. Realize we're thinking, okay, that may be there for going with a consultant or not going with a consultant. So we need to kind of see how this thing plays itself out a little bit in the meantime.
I say right now it's really fluid, and it's like I say, it's a lot of information just came out, and now all of a sudden it's like on a fast track. But before I continue, I just want to, for Wakulla at this very moment, there is only $1.6 million available, and that is from the Transocean settlement. It should be $2 million March when the third and final payment for Transocean is deposited. The BP trial is not yet settled, even though Judge Barbary ruled that BP was guilty of gross negligence. There's still one trial left to go in January to determine the assessment per barrel.
They did appeal that, though, didn't they?
Not yet.
Exactly.
They haven't?
Not yet. Not yet.
They're still on the time.
They will, though.
Yeah. I'm
Right,
sure
but but like I say, they still have the opportunity. No one knows for sure, but that is their, an option that they have. So as far as money goes, there's not a lot of money in the bank for Wakulla today. Now, for Escambia County, it is more money because they're getting a much higher percentage than we are. So they've moved a little bit faster just because they're anticipating, more money from the Transocean settlement, and so is Bay County. So they have moved a little bit further along.
One of the judges just didn't like the procedure and said that they would owe another $18 billion. You read that, I guess.
That final the final findings that judge will be in, I believe it's February or
the trial is scheduled to begin in January.
January.
But the trial could go on. I mean, the first trial was 2 years ago.
Yeah, this next one will determine whether it's negligence or gross negligence, and it will determine the amount of the per barrel that was spilt. It'll either be ranging from $1,100 to $10,000 a barrel. So that'll be the.
That's where he came up with the $18 billion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was based on the I think the estimates, the methodology was based on the highest price per barrel on the estimated number of barrels. And so, but as this trial has gone forward, they've refined that a little bit more. But like I say, I just want to make sure that everybody understands, we don't have $20 million, okay? So there's still, and the money, there's no, the money doesn't go away. There's no deadline, there's no schedule, so we can take a breath and relax and do this right, so that we can get everything in place, so when and if the BP money does happen to come available, we'll be better prepared for it in a very methodical way.
And the $2 million, that's not Pot 1 money, so we're not, am I jumping ahead?
For Wakulla,
Right.
yes, that is our
Pot
share
Would be in our Pot 1.
That's right.
for Transocean money.
Okay.
So anyway, and so that's kind of like the process. Then the consultant or the staff would get all the applications through a portal, or if somebody didn't have access to a computer, we would certainly take it, a hand, paper copy. And then you have to review those applications to make sure they're complete, they have the right information to determine, does it meet the Restore Act criteria? And it has all the requirements that the Treasury guidance and rules say we have to have in it. So there's going to be hands-on, somebody looking at each one of those applications. And then once that's done, those applications need to be stratified in terms of the category. Is it a tourism project? Is it an economic project? Is it a Gulf restoration project? Is it, a land purchase? And what's the total amount of all those projects, because we're going to get in more projects than we have money. So then you're going to have to somehow prioritize those projects, what's more important. And those are things that we're going to have to do to develop our multi-year plan.
And with the Restore Act Committee.
And the Restore Act Committee. So the consultant or the staff would be doing a lot of that and facilitating workshops to get public input. And then once you have all that together, then the projects could potentially go to the Restore Act Committee to review and rate and rank and make sure they fit the criteria as far as the priorities, and then bring a recommendation back to the board to vote on. Because the multi-year plan has to have in it information on how you selected your projects. If you say that promoting Gulf seafood is more important than restoring a particular habitat, you have to explain how you derived that conclusion. And if you get public input, you have to take that input into consideration, and you have to look at it to see if it is input that needs to be considered. And they're going to be looking for those kind of things in the plan.
So you can technically become our consultant.
I could.
Well, and that's something we got to vet. It's just the biggest thing is this is going to be, there's got to be science, hard science. Hard science is also be hard math as far as economics is concerned behind an economic proposal. It's not just put something on the back of a sheet of a paper and turn it in.
Someone will eventually figure out that the fisheries is about 65% of our income.
So this thing we have to spread it across a wide spectrum. So, but anyway, go ahead, Sheree. I'm sorry.
But the consultants, and I'm on the statewide committee for the Gulf Consortium invitation to negotiate. And last couple of weeks ago, we heard from the top 4 proposers, and well, I can't really, go into details, but I can tell you I was blown away. And I've been around for a long time, so sometimes it's hard to blow me away. But these guys were bringing to the table attorneys who had, environmental experience, people who had retired from the federal level from regulatory agencies or the Corps. We were bringing scientists to the table to do this. They had IT professionals that could map all the information, put it in databases to provide you with GIS maps, longitude, latitude, even project the potential benefit of a project based on the information at hand. They were going to bring in PR firms to handle all the public information, to have media packages, to conduct the public meetings. And they were looking at doing that statewide. And so one of the ideas all of the people at the table who were evaluating, we said, well, wouldn't it be great if the counties, especially small counties like Wakulla, had the opportunity to piggyback off of that offer for your county and be able to, get into that whole process and have somebody, a web that's already developed, or people who already have the database developed, people who already have the scientists at the table. Then we're not having to do our own RFP or go out and hire staff or whatever. So, but that's an option. You can kind of tell I like it. So, and we'll be bringing back additional information. So I've kind of talked a little bit about what funds are available, and there we go into the $1.6 million that's in the trust fund now, that's allocated, that's got our name on it. In March, after the final payment, it should go up to about $2 million. It's an additional $400,000. Another good thing, and it was a result of the comments we did to the rule, is that they're going to allow us to do a grant application just for assistance to develop our multi-year plan. So, and that does not get counted against the 3% administrative funds that we can use per project, and that was really good news. Wakulla funds, if we use the funds exclusively, we are a grant recipient to the U.S. Treasury. If the board desires to award a project to an entity or an individual to implement and fund that project to that individual organization, that still will be in the form of a sub-grant, and that individual organization will be tied to and committed to the same rules and regulations we are, and we will be responsible for ensuring that that entity follows the law as well as the project that they submitted to us, which means we'll have to monitor their deliverables and their performance milestones.
And to back that point up, I can't stress it enough, the citizens of this county will be on the hook for these funds. If they're not distributed correctly and projects aren't successful, the citizens of this county will be on the hook. We will have to pay it back.
So no speculative projects.
It's got to be very well vetted. It has to be sound. And because you realize we would be putting the citizens of this county on the hook.
Well, when we vet, it goes to the Restore Act Committee, so...
Still, it stops here with you five.
I understand, but you'll have some good people.
Yeah, but that's the reason there's going to be science behind it. Folks are going to have to spend some money to bring it to the table because we need to make sure that it is the highest and best use, and it will work.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Our capital projects, of course, don't run into that because
That's right.
you buy this piece of property or you build this or build that. There it is. There's no...
Well,
this didn't
there
work.
are some catches
There are catches there. That's right.
Commissioner Kessler.
Mr. Kessler.
Thank you. So, so when you talk about these projects, and so what comes to mind, I guess Randy's just led into, let's say this board wanted to sewer Wakulla Gardens. Okay, that's capital. What would we have to do according to your flow sheet to prove that this would have a positive effect on the Gulf?
We would have to find some science that shows that if we say that it would reduce
nitrogen and
nitrate loading,
ground level, that'd be very easy to prove.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then we would have to put in performance measures and milestones, and we would have to measure it for a certain period of time with a sound scientific methodology that would be approved to show that it was actually performing the way we said it would.
Right. And so when we get into something like that, and going back to what you said about subcontracting, which makes me pretty uncomfortable, we've gone through some situations where the county has approved projects allowing a third entity to manage those projects, and now the county is on the hook for those projects. We don't want to be there again. What's the incentive to subcontract?
Well, there's subgranting and there's subcontracting.
Let's say subgranting.
Right, subgranting, then we would have to, I say staff, David's people would have to be responsible for monitoring and managing that project. And
But can I interrupt for 1 second? We're on the hook anyway. So if we allow someone to sub-grant and they screw up, we're the ones that are still holding the thing. So I don't see any real incentive at this point in time for us to be considering that sub-granting phase. That's my personal opinion.
What about the consortium funds? We're just talking about the county funds right now.
Mm-hmm.
But the consortium funds, do they have the same rules?
Yes.
I don't want to jump ahead. But
Yes.
Right, and when we were in some of the meetings we've been in, or I've been in, and as part of the evaluation team's discussion, that is one of the things that came up over and over and over again. This is wonderful. It's it's a beautiful thing to get these funds to help restore the Gulf, even though it was because of a horrible incident. But it is federal dollars. They didn't, it's going to come down as federal dollars, and it's going to have the weight of every federal dollar you've ever received, and probably a little more.
As long as you let it just blow the money, in other words.
Yeah.
And I think I remember when the initial rules came out, according to our formula for that, they were estimating about 2.5 full-time equivalent positions would be needed just to monitor and reporting. Have you seen any changes of that? Do we think that's still accurate?
No, and I really don't know how sound that methodology was, because if the project is going to determine the level of monitoring, you could have a project that really doesn't require, like you buy a piece of land. That's pretty, evident that you bought the land. You may have to do a little bit of monitoring to see if maybe a certain species, like a red-headed woodpecker, the population, but you could hire one biologist to go out there just to check that, But like you might have a sewer project, which you've got to be out there almost every single day, and not only that, you've got Davis-Bacon Act that you may have to do, and that's really a lot of work when you're doing Davis-Bacon Act, to make sure that you have all those EEO requirements. So you might have a project that takes 3 people.
And that's going to be one of the things I think the private sector hasn't. It's going to be hard to get around is they actually having to implement federal rules and all the EEO statements, all the doing Davis-Bacon, all that stuff is you're going to look at it and say, wow. I don't know if it's worth us really diving in. I hope they do, but I think that's going to be a big hurdle to get over, because that is a lot of administrative work.
But like Howard said, we're going to still be on the hook.
And we're on the hook, and when it comes across not right, the federal government don't pay, and we don't pay. So that's what happens, and everything's got to be perfect. So
I would think certain categories of projects would maybe just get prescriptive improvement is what I would think, because going from a septic tank to a central sewer, I don't know if we'd have to prove that that's a help to the environment. I think that's been proven 1,000 times in the past. Just to go back to that example, I think preservation of land, probably you wouldn't have to do data and analysis to say buying a wetland and preserving it forever is an environmental benefit. So it may be a list of things that just by default qualify. Maybe.
Okay. Right, but like say if you're buying capital equipment, if it's a project, which then you would have to have some milestones. What is it going to do? How long are you going to keep the equipment and things like that? But like I say, each project is just going to have to be evaluated on its own merits, to how much evaluation it's going to take. And right now there's just simply no magic methodology that has been come up with yet. You just got to evaluate each project and determine, based on what the benefits are and what the proposed performance milestones are going to be.
Well, I want to thank you, Sheree, for doing that. That's a great update. Now, Commissioners, we will be, it'll probably start now from here on coming under general business. We'll be giving you updates. It may come at every meeting as this time frame, because October 15th is when the Treasury rules go hard, so therefore, we don't have to act fast, but still the public's going to be asking questions. We need to be able to provide answers to questions, and we'll be setting a process. And the good news is, for the public, Wakulla County is very well represented when it comes to Restore Act. Ms. Encinosa's firm, they're the lead counsel for the consortium. Sheree is one of how many folks?
5 throughout the state.
5 folks throughout the state that was selected to be on the selection committee for the Restore Act consultant. Commissioner Thomas sits on the Restore Act board, and he goes to all the meetings. So therefore, and it's very engaged there. So therefore, we're not missing a stroke. We're not missing a beat. The county's going to get. They're going to see to it that the county gets every dollar that can come to us. We'll see to it.
And we have a Gulf Consortium meeting next week in Okaloosa County.
That's right.
We had 10 more slides, but I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here.
I'm trying to wrap it up. It's a lot of information, and
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheree. Our next presenter is going to be Mr. Roger Penholster, who will be giving us a presentation on the Big Bend Maritime Museum.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thanks for this opportunity to tell you about the future of the Big Bend Maritime Center. Oh my gosh, we have a movable presentation.
As long as I don't drop it.
You'll get our feel.
So, for over a decade, see if I can work this thing here.
Y'all got it backwards.
For over a decade, Florida Foresight, which I'm the current president of, has struggled to bring Wakulla County a maritime center. And we've had some successes I'll go over, but we haven't produced all the things that are in that contract for the county. And tonight we want to present some options to you that might fit for bringing us something that's useful for children and families. So right down the street we have 5 acres, 2 houses, shops below the houses, a dock right off Main Street next to Wooley Park, of course. Some of the things we've accomplished: we have done an environmental study, an archaeological study. We have an annual seafood festival I'll talk about in a minute. And we have a successful boat building program. All those were part of the original agreement that we worked on about a decade ago. The boat building center is named after Larry Tucker. This year we're going to build 6 craft, 4 with adults and 2 in the summer with kids, like we did the last few years. And so that's really going well. And our fall festival, our seafood festival, is going to be October 11th. New this year, we're going to have a 5K run from Rock Landing to Levy Landing, back to Wooley Park, gumbo cook-off, cornhole tournament, and of course live entertainment. So you're used to seeing all that, and we produced that over these last years from Florida Foresight. What we really want is something there that the community wants. Our original plan, I wasn't here then, but the original plan was for like a multi-million-dollar, multi-site maritime center, and that's just not going to happen. We've been through a recession. There's not enough money to go around for even a part of that. But we want something that the community can be proud in, that they can participate in, a place that families can enjoy. And so, go back, maybe. We want to talk about some possibilities for the future. So we think there's some ideas that can go on down there that aren't going to cost millions of dollars. And one is, go ahead and, there's a nice dock down there. It's not going to take a lot of money to redo. Put a floating dock on it, kayak livery underneath from a local vendor. Let them run that kayak distribution center there. There's something called scientists and residence programs in parks all over the country. Let a couple folks live in that bay house. Their rent is free. They do a after-school program for middle school kids down there. Create a boardwalk and a fishing village between the 2 houses. So this is a boardwalk between those 2 houses that's raised off the ground. Those houses are about 7-8 feet deep. That's where your museum is. Those are the interpretive displays inside there, inside that ship, inside this house. And underneath would be picnic tables. On the other side of it, there's a large green now that could be a water park similar to Cascades Park, if you're familiar with that, downtown. Kids are playing in it every day. It's basically, fountains coming out of the cement there. So it's nowhere anybody could drown unless they really tried. The boardwalk through the woods, I met with DEP on Friday. They don't see a lot of problems with the dock, with the walkway through the 2 acres that are wooded there. You just have to establish, what is wetlands there. So that'll be something that, an engineer will have to work and put a whole site plan back in together. Also, we have a start on a working fishing boat collection. It'd be nice to have a shrimp boat down there, a mullet boat, oyster, clam. We have a tunnel boat down there now that we're redoing. So I guess the main idea is we'd like to see, after talking with Mr. Edwards and Cherie, we'd like to see the community have a chance to redesign this thing and make it something that's going to bring tourism dollars in, but it's also going to be good for children and families. And so we'd like to go on the road and get their ideas, depending on what you say, and then bring them back to you in some kind of form where you can make a more informed decision.
Hey, I appreciate all your efforts you've put into this, and thank you for your presentation and willing to move this in a positive direction.
Okay. Any questions I can answer?
As we talked with Roger, one of the biggest things was we batted around a lot of ideas about the Maritime Center, but it's going to take, and this is what I told Roger, it's going to take community involvement. The county does not have the funds, nor do there grant funding out there for this, and we do not have the funds to build it nor maintain it. This is going to take a community effort. So he wants to go out into the community and try to build consensus and build fundraisers and also donations and time, etc. If that's the way we want to go on this, to try to bring this forth. If we can't get community support for it, then obviously if the community is not willing to support it and help us get it off the ground, then we'll look at returning the land back to the state. So that's kind of the way we left it with Roger.
So we're looking for partners. We're looking for a coalition of people that are willing to put time, effort, and money. Nobody has any money, but if we all put a little bit in, we can do it.
It seems to me like the least expensive way that you could go with getting people involved would maybe be with your kayaks and maybe fishing, using your pier. Somehow you could have sailboat tournaments, you could have sailing tournaments, kayak, everybody likes to do a kayak almost. And those are not expensive items to get moving. When you start building buildings and so forth,
that's where the money is.
It would just seem to me that if you could do small fishing tournaments with your kids, make your dock presentable where they can go out there and fish, and then have a supply of kayaks and maybe some sailboats. I can see a lot of people that's a great little bay for sailing.
Yes.
Because it's enclosed, you can't get out of it. You make a mistake, you're still in the bay. So
going to the Optimus Club Thursday to talk about prams and sailing.
I'm very optimistic and supportive of your boat building program, because especially as a cultural art that's just not done as much anymore, and any time that you can pass that knowledge on to a younger generation or pass it on to anyone who can further it, I think is really great. And it's something interactive that people can get involved with, and they can just appreciate what all goes into something that's seemingly as simple as building a boat, but there's a lot involved with it.
Yes. Mr. Kessler? Yeah, I just have a question for the administrator. Thank you. Mr. Edwards, you've mentioned that this project possibly would be looked to be going back to the state if this thing didn't work out. Do we have any kind of time frame, any kind of goals that you anticipate saying if we don't have X amount of citizen participation measured by this within 6 months, or what's happening with it?
Yeah, and that's what I think the direction we need to if you guys are willing to move forward, and we'll bring an agenda item together. But I'm thinking a 6-month time frame to pull together a plan, pull together possible commitments to where Roger can have a shot at pulling it together if that's the way you guys want to go, and that way we can measure that at the end of that 6 months and see, and then determine. He may come back and say, "Hey, it's a great idea. I'd love to do it, but I'm the only guy in town, and I'm not going to do it by myself." So, and I think that's what he's here asking for. And I would think a 6-month time frame would give him and the Forward Foresight folks plenty of time to.
We don't need that much time.
Okay.
You give us to Christmas. It's going to happen, or like we talked. It's going to be there, or it's not going to be there. People are going to want something good, or they're not. So, but we'll put the time and effort out there to see, what they want, as opposed to giving them something,
I believe you drive down from Tallahassee every day?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you do.
Yes, sir.
That's great commitment.
Well, I have a really committed board right now. They're putting a lot of time and effort into that place right now, and their own money in right now. So I really appreciate them, and we have a good group, unselfish group, and hopefully we can do something good for you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that ends our presentations. Do I have a motion and second for the consent?
So moved.
Second.
And a motion made and second for the consent. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the only consent item that I have pulled was number 11. I think Commissioner Miller, or Mayor, you was the one that pulled that one?
Yeah, I pulled that one. This was the one about the meetings in the analysis where Jessica, I guess, laid out what...
Earthquake.
Great job, guys. I want to change the language a little bit. Right now it says the amendment provides this portion of the agenda shall be limited to total 30 minutes. My intention was that should say that this portion of the agenda shall be allocated 30 minutes, because if we do like we just did now and go back and forth with the presenter, it may take 45 minutes, and I don't want at some point in the future for somebody to cut it off at 30 minutes while we're talking. All that 30 minutes was for us to give David a number of presentations he knew he could fit into that time.
Scheduling aid, so he schedules.
Scheduling aid,
Yeah.
and the way it's written now, one could construe it to say, well, it has to be 30 minutes, no more. That was not the intention.
Right.
So your wording would allow it to exceed the 30 minutes. So something else that we might want to consider also is Cherie's presentation. Again, it had input from the board.
I'll amend it to be non-staff if you'd like.
Yeah, I think that the staff has to be separate and maybe go under general business.
That's right, and that's
and just
right.
So that then it would really be, then I don't think we're going to have a problem with scheduling.
Okay. You want to just move them to general business, or
Yep.
you want me to? Okay.
We'll move them to general
I'll move to
business.
approve this with that change that I mentioned, that we change it to allocated 30 minutes instead of limited to 30 minutes.
Okay.
And then the ones from the staff will go under general business.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
so
I'm in agreement with
those
that.
amendments, fine.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have any more discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. That was our only consent item that was pulled. We don't have any planning and zoning items to speak of tonight that I'm aware of. Okay, general business, David?
Okay, hold on just a second. I'm getting there. Yes, this is tab number 16. Request board approval to submit the SHIP audit response letter as requested in the SHIP program review audit letter. Actually, 16 and 17 are related to each other, so I'm not asking you to approve each of them, but just to let you know both of those are related.
I'll move option 1, which is authorize chairman to execute and approve the submittal of the SHIP audit response letter as requested in the SHIP program review audit letter.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
A motion made and second. Any further discussion by commissioners?
Yeah, and just some of the things that have at least been passed in our emails from citizens giving us input, I think are valuable. I think that we're trying to at least clean up some of these things so that we can move forward and not continue to live with the things that have gone on.
One area that I'm not clear on, I don't know that we've properly addressed it, is on the letter that we received back from Florida Planning Group. Bottom of the first page, it talks about findings concerned to substandard construction, and I'm not clear on what the case was there, and I'd like a little more clarification on that.
Which page is that, Ralph?
It's tab 1, the bottom of or attachment 1, bottom of the first page under physical inspections.
Maybe
Right.
Jay can come up and
Jay,
comment
can you
on
come
that.
up, please?
It's finding concern to substandard construction noted on 3 to 4 homes. Okay.
Yes, sir. Jay Mosley, Government Services Group. During our physical inspection of some of these units that were done in from 2008 to 2011, there were some items in 3 of the houses that were deemed not still acceptable. One was a cabinet door that had fallen off. I believe Commissioner Kessler was familiar with that one. I had a discussion with him during the inspection. But there were some things, one of them, there was some flooring that was coming up. A lot of this has to do with 2 of the properties that we were reviewing were mobile homes. And
substandard construction in a mobile home is just, I don't know what to tell you. Nobody likes to work on mobile homes, and getting contractors and getting quality contractors to work on mobile homes is very difficult. And some of the items that were done were sloppily done. There's no question about it. And what they would like for us to do is use some emergency repair money and SHIP and go back and address some of the items in these homes. And that's what we are saying that we want to do.
So is this a matter of the contractor simply didn't do their job properly, and are those contractors still in our system, and it's something that we should insist that we have them correct?
The one contractor that did both of the mobile homes is not still working in the program. I did talk to him at length. He's still in the county. He's still a contractor. And he did offer to go back to one of the houses and have his flooring guy look at the flooring. And I don't know if he ever did that or not. I haven't gotten back in touch with him. The other house, there was a lot of animosity between the contractor and the homeowner. There was a lot of blame to go around on both sides. It's a very difficult situation where your homeowner and your contractor have basically a poisonous relationship with each other, and then the homeowner refuses to allow the contractor back on the property. So
that happens more than you would think when somebody's receiving free money. But I got a buddy that does these, and
it's not easy.
No.
The other house, very simply, the well system was replaced and the pump was replaced, but the issue that we determined after going back out to the house after all the work was done, it wasn't the contractor's fault. It's the plumbing itself. It's the old galvanized plumbing that was not replaced. And that's where the restriction is coming. She's basically got no hot water at her shower. I mean, the shower was new and the water runs fine, but the hot water doesn't get there, and it's caused from restriction in the plumbing, which was it was not on the contractor's work write-up to do. And so we would like to address that as a separate issue, but it was not the contractor at fault.
Are the contractors required to give any sort of warranty for their work?
They give a 1-year warranty, and in all three issues, in all three cases, the warranty is up on these properties. So, you know, I can get Aaron to go back out to one out of just the goodness of his heart, hopefully.
So I assume that after the work was complete, we also had to have our building inspector do a final sign-off.
And that was what we submitted to Florida Housing Finance with the first letter that went back to them, was that certificate of completion from the building department.
You can actually get a CO in a house without flooring in it.
Right.
Concrete floor.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if we gave them enough information, because this response here that we're going to send out new applications, but did we give them enough information to know that maybe it was acceptable at the time, or it was other extenuating circumstances?
I tried.
Okay.
That's all I can do is try.
Okay.
So I have questions. The contractor that was involved in these couple of cases, is this a local contractor or somebody from Leon County?
It's a local contractor.
Local contractor. And so in our SHIP bidding, or whatever the process is to have contractors, do we have multiple local contractors still?
We advertise each of our SHIP bids in the local newspaper. I also have a database of about 65 other contractors that we have vetted in the past, and I send a blast email out to all of them so that we get maximum participation. He is not on that email list, but he might still see the advertisement in the paper.
Do we get local contractors applying for these SHIP programs? Because I'm hearing that at least some contractors feel they're not being notified.
We get very little local participation, to be quite honest, and why that is, I don't know. You know, we run an ad in the paper, and I'm certainly willing to accept anybody's application and do their vetting. You know, we vet the contractors and check licenses and complaints and so forth.
The reason why is the margins are very tight, and there's some people that pretty much do these SHIP projects for a living, and local contractors will be very, very, very hard pressed to underbid them. That's why you don't get a lot of
Yeah,
local.
I didn't know you had that list you sent it out to, and we can add Wakulla County
Yeah.
folks to that, but at the end of the day, it's also incumbent upon the contractor to look at the papers,
Sure.
just like all other contractors do.
Sure.
to
So I
verify
appreciate
that.
you sending me that list also.
Certainly.
Okay, I appreciate that. Then the other thing is, and it's a difficult situation, because in that one where and I know when you say, Commissioner Merritt, that, sometimes when you're doing something for helping out, people complain, but in that equation, we are the professionals, and that contractor basically represents us out there. And when things are not done properly, I walk through, I've seen some of the work that I was very disappointed in. Yes, our county building department does go out there, but they're not infallible either.
I'm not making an excuse for shoddy work. I mean, I'm just saying, people say, well, while you're here, you should go ahead and do this while you're here, or
Right, well,
I don't like that color, even though I picked it out, or I just seen things
Without,
like that.
and I don't want to embarrass anyone, but, and I wish I could say this to you outside of a meeting, which I can't, but some of the things that I've been exposed to are not just cosmetic and are serious.
And those are inexcusable.
Okay, that's all I have to say.
So if anyone wants to be added to the list, they'd send the email directly to you?
Absolutely.
'Cause I also heard some contractors that said they were not being notified.
We're more than happy to add contractors to our email list.
There's more people involved when the housing market, believe it or not, is starting to come back now. And a lot of people got out of the construction business, and a lot of the contractors a couple of years ago, I'm sure you had a lot bigger response when the work was a lot slower.
I've had as many as 52 contractors show up for
But
a
now the
bid.
work has come back, the work they make money at, they're going back to that. And these are very tight margin jobs when you got a guy coming in from out of town. I think most of the people that win these are I don't know, I shouldn't say that, but anyway, the people that they're competing against do a lot of these, and they run very tight margins too.
Correct.
It's not a profitable thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So do I have any further discussion? Those commissioners? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Tab 17, which says related to the audit response letter, this requests approval of authorized ship expenditures for the Jaworski and state-owned residents as requested in the ship program review.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion by commissioners? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Tab 18, Louis, would you take this one, please?
Yes. Commissioners, this is for the release of lien in reference to Code Enforcement KCE 2011-91 for property located at 140 Chattahoochee Street in Panacea. And this is one that has actually gone to the Code Board a while ago for the release of the lien. It was never brought before the board. There was some confusion regarding who actually owned the property. It was shown on the property appraiser's records as one owner, but it was not actually the owner. But the current owner, the actual owner, is wanting to move forward with some site plans, and we feel that we need to bring this forward for release of the lien.
Motion to approve the execution of release of lien related code of... Option 1.
Got that, Brandy? Okay. Do you have a second?
Sure. Yeah, Jerry seconded.
Okay.
So we have a motion made and second. Any discussion amongst commissioners? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposing? Okay. That ends up our general business. I don't have any commissioner agenda items that have been disclosed. County Attorney, do you have any items?
Nothing this evening, Mr. Chairman.
County Administrator?
Just a reminder, tomorrow is our meeting for the tentative budget approval.
What time?
It's 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. That's it.
5 o'clock. That's a good time to start a meeting.
Randy.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, is that it, David?
That's it.
All right, for our second citizens to be heard portion, we have one citizen that's turning a card to speak, Mr. Garland Burdette.
Thank you, Commissioners, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm Garland Burdette. I live here in Crawfordville. I was listening today to all the talk about the intersection and this and that, all that's going into the intersection, and it also makes me think about our wetlands amendment that's on the ballot. And deep down in my heart, I'm a diehard conservative, and I just don't understand why we got to have regulations or people over things. We've got the federal government, the state government, whatever, involved with wetlands, and then we, as a county, are going to get involved with this. This seems like to be a costly issue for us, and I'm not so sure that I don't understand how anything ever gets done. You sit here and listen to all the parameters that have to be hit. We just going to have one more thing, and in all honesty, I believe we're just going to have one more thing that we're going to fight over, and we're going to get a lot of nothing done. I also remember back when the county was sued for issues that we did. It seems like anything we get involved with, it's a financial obligation to us, and I'm not so sure that it's worth the effort. I wonder about the intersection. Is there anybody other than Jerry Moore that has any reason not to want that intersection to be where it's at? Is there anybody else that thought that they might be able to get this intersection on their property? It seems like to me, if we got an intersection problem, it needs to be fixed. Sounds like, from what I heard tonight, nobody thinks that the state did their job right. In all honesty, I'm not smart enough to know, but it makes me wonder. I can also say I hope emphatically that the wetlands amendment does not pass, although I'm afraid that it will. But I think it's going to be kind of like Obamacare. We're going to get it, and then we're going to find out how bad it is, but then what are we going to do with it? We don't have a dictator like we do with President Obama that can say or do something to stop this. We're going to have something that's going to be permanent. If changes are made, if we don't get all 5 commissioners to agree with this, we're going to have to put it up for a revote, if I'm correct. Also, this is something I probably should have known. I went to the landfill 2 weeks ago on Thursday. Well, that's not a very good thing. I thought when we got to landfill, all the new procedures, that it was going to be open 5 days a week. I had a full truck of stuff. And to the credit of the people at the landfill, the young lady let me take it in, but we have regressed with our landfill. I'm off on Wednesday and Thursday. Some people says I'm always off, just sometimes I'm not at work. But you know what? We need the landfill open, I think, and I should have maybe known it.
Thank you, Ms. Burnett. All right, that's the only citizen that we had to be heard. Is there any discussion issues, commissioners?
I got a few. I don't know where you want to start.
Randy, we'll start down there.
All right, I had a meeting with Secretary, what's his name? Broussard? Howard?
Broussard.
Yes. With Harry Reid, with the CRTPA, just went over a bunch of CRTPA projects, like Woodville Highway up to Capitol Circle, I think Capitol Circle itself, Welaunee Interchange on I-10. But we spent a lot of time talking about 4-lane and 319. And Secretary Barfield was there along with the head guy, and they gave me some ideas. And I talked to Harry Reid today at the next CRTPA meeting, which is next week. I'm going to recommend to my fellow board members that we get 319 put on the regional mobility plan. And the Secretary thought very confident that they could get some funding for this project. I was frankly surprised. I mean, he was looking at Tommy Barfield like, how can we do this? And I was very, very enthused. It was just me and Harry Reid there, and the head secretary and Tommy Barfield. Anyway, I just thought I'd give you an update on that. And I thought it was a very productive meeting, and I at least have something I can do as far as getting us a little closer to it. Wanted to bounce this off you guys. I had a call from a citizen in the Riverside area. They are interested in making Riverside area a golf cart community. There's several paved county roads in there, Shepherd Wood, San Marcos, They couldn't drive out on the highway, but the procedure to do it is to get the county's golf cart ordinance amended to include that area. And I didn't want to waste anybody's time if there was opposition to that. If it looks like it has a little traction, I'll bring it back as an agenda item. But they want to be able to ride, basically, to sum it up, ride the golf carts on the road in their community without getting a ticket.
Right, so I think that I, for one, need to see what those roads are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
I would look at it, yes.
okay, that's all I needed to hear. You know, anybody's adamantly opposed, they're just local roads, there's no commercial.
And we have 2 golf cart communities now.
Correct, Panacea and St. Mark's.
St. Mark's and Shell Point.
3, yeah.
Shell Point.
Yeah.
Don't forget about Panacea either, Heather.
We have 3. We have
We need to put Sop Choppy on that list, but
Well, Sop Choppy, they can certainly apply for it, I guess.
yes, they would.
Back to the CRTPA meeting we have coming up next Tuesday, or next Monday, I'm sorry. I want to go over the projects that we're going to be updating the 2016 to 2020 priority project list, and I wanted to just quickly go over things that affect our county. If you'll bear with me 1 second here. Like I said, the regional mobility plan, our big thing here is just get 319 on that. If we can get it on that list, I feel really good that DOT is going to start throwing some more money at it. Because again, the secretary told me that he sat down with the governor, and they consider that road out there one of the top priorities in the state for economic development, at least from Crawfordville to Tallahassee, and that's where the focus is Crawfordville to Tallahassee. So as far as this is kind of confusing. There's so many different plans, but anyway, that's the focus of that one. On the transportation management plan, it's called TSM. That's where our intersections are, and as you can see, I've highlighted right here. Project number 1, highest ranking, is Crawfordville Road at Bloxham Cutoff. So that, and sub below that is the other intersections working their way south, as we have, as a board, prioritize them, and as the CRTPA have prioritized them, starting at Bloxham and working south, so they're all in there. On the transportation alternatives, which is basically sidewalks, there are 9 priority projects, and 5 of those are in our county. This is for the whole CRTPA region. The Wakulla Coast Charter School sidewalk, ranked number 4, that's like $900,000. Number 6, St. Mark's Trail Southern Extension, sponsored by the City of St. Mark's. Number 7 is the 98 and Panacea Community Sidewalk. Let's see, north of Clark Drive to north of Piney Street. Not sure. It's in Panacea, anyway. Number 8 is Otter Lake Road, Panacea Community Sidewalk, which I assume goes from the senior apartments out to the road.
98, that's right.
Number 9 is Mound Street, Panacea Community Sidewalks. US 98 to Willey Park. So out of the 9 in the region, 5 of them are in this county.
What time frame do they have on those?
This is just one of those hold your breath things, but they're on the list. Now, we have funding for the Safe Routes to School project, right? That goes from Crawfordville Elementary all the way to the courthouse. And we also, I believe, have funding for the one going from the senior center over to the intersection at Wakulla Road.
Which is really big, because that's one of the things that we're having problems with the seniors right now. They try to get to McDonald's and Winn-Dixie and to the grocery stores, and they have to go on the road, and so we've got those funding, as well as we're going to be turning in, with Commissioner Merritt's help as well, we're going to be turning in another sidewalk project to go up Wakulla Air and turn down Trice Lane to tie in the community center, tie it back up to where the seniors can actually go to the community center, walk or use their hover rounds to go to the community center, and then tie it back into 319 down Shadeville.
And interestingly enough, let me see, there was one that got removed, and sidewalks that got removed were the ones that were going to be looked at doing on 319, because of that state, I guess, actually thought ahead. If they're going to 4-lane the road, why go ahead and build a sidewalk on it? So I guess they actually thought ahead on that one. But it's and again, that sidewalk at Senior Center over to Wakulla Air has been a top project for the community traffic safety team also. That's all I have.
Very good. All right, I've got 3 things. The first thing is, as the commission's may or may not be aware, the striping that was approved to be done on Smith Creek roads has been completed. And I want to relay the thanks from the Smith Creek community that has been expressed to the entire commission about that striping. Whenever you came from Leon County to Wakulla County, you went from stripes to just a bare black road with no stripes at all, and there's been some near serious accidents up there. But now, whenever they can come and they're striping from there all the way into Sopchoppy, I've had over a dozen citizens that have addressed me. They've called me. They have just thanked the commission as a whole. And I made them aware of it. We as a commission did that. So I just want to relay that thanks to the commission from the Smith Creek community that we've really made that road a whole lot safer.
I have to get out there more often. Ain't nobody calling me anyway.
I've had a few as well.
I live there.
So I've been spending
You are
time
Smith
Creek. But the next thing is also in that end of the county. But I don't know if y'all have recently traveled the paved portion of 13 that goes from Highway 375 over into Liberty County. But that road is in such disrepair that it's a matter of time before there's a serious accident there. The county has been. I want to give credit to Cleve and to Brent with that they have really tried to patch as many of those potholes but as soon as a pothole is patched, the next range has come. There's a whole another pothole that's formed. Then whenever that one gets patched, there's another, and there's some of these potholes that are forming that are 5 and 6 feet in diameter and 6 and 7 inches deep. And
Very bad road.
the road's pretty much gone now. The Forest Service has a plan. They've already engineered redoing that entire road. They have to get their funding, I think, from the Federal Highway Administration. But what I wanted to ask this board is possibly that if would there be a way that we could just pass a resolution or something, just showing support to the Forest Service, trying to indicate what a priority it is, and something the Forest Service can take from the county to the Federal Highway Administration, just emphasizing the importance of fixing this road, because this road is an immediate problem. And I drive all over the county, and I can't think of any other road in the county that is in dire need as that one.
I don't know if I'd use the word priority. That seems to be getting bounced around a lot here lately. Why don't we just say we feel it's important, because it's the Three Bridges Road for anybody that doesn't know, for people that fish off of it. But I agree. It's been, and back when they redid 13, I think years ago, those dump trucks just really ruined it.
You're driving that in the dark and you don't know the road.
Yeah, it's bad.
Well, I know DOT is working with the state DOT is working with the federal government on funding that road from 375 over to 60
over to 67.
77.
That's the portion
Paving the entire thing.
Only the paved portion, but it really needs it. And I just
They're talking about paving even the dirt section.
I mean, if you want to do a resolution urging them to do something with the road, I'll support that.
That's something I would like to bring back to the commission, that a resolution from the county to them that they can use as added weight, because the Forest Service wants to fix it. But they're dealing with the bureaucratic, further up the chain. So if they had something from us that they could take to their chain level, that hopefully it would help get the ball moved forward, because they've got it completely engineered. And the road needs it. They just don't have the money to do it.
Yeah, I'll support that.
What about Scrap and Scop? Is that road?
It's only half a mile, maybe a mile.
Yeah, half a mile.
Yeah.
So it'd be, I wouldn't say it's a waste. I'm not saying Smith Creek's a waste. I'm just saying if we could pave 8 or 10 miles somewhere else.
It's forest road anyway.
Yeah, it's a forest. Yeah.
So it wouldn't be eligible?
I don't think it would be eligible. It's not eligible for FEMA funds, I don't think, either, because it's a federal road. Yeah.
It's caught in that no man's land. That's the problem. That's the reason
we mow the grass on it.
Forestry and DOT has actually been working on trying to pull together some funds with the forestry to do that.
Well, I would encourage each commissioner, if y'all are in that end of the county, to ride by and take a look at it if you haven't seen it.
While you're on roads, and I appreciate you bringing that up, we're going to continue our striping. And just I'm going to run down some roads that we're going to be striping. Harvey Mill, some sections of it. Harvey Mill, Cager Posey, Wakulla Aaron, Aaron Road, Martin Luther King, 3.8 miles on Martin Luther King, East Ivan, Songbird Avenue, Bridle Gate, Lonnie Raker Lane, Ivan Church Road, Wakulla Springs North and South for about 7 miles.
And while we're on roads, I just heard him mention Lonnie Raker. Don't forget about that jog in the road. Remember when we paved that road years ago? It jogs over up against Brother
Right.
Raker's field.
Right.
I think we have all the right-of-way to move it over to line up with the rest of the road.
Okay. All right, sorry about
Are
that.
you going to put raised pavement markers on all these, or I know Smith Creek got them, didn't they, Richard?
In honor of Commissioner Moore, yeah. I'm just kidding. He likes them so much.
Yeah.
Two, yeah, on the outside of the line.
If you get them in between the two lines, that's fine, but when you put them outside, you just subtract them from the width of your road.
That's why we use 4-inch stripes.
That's the reason I wanted to pull your chain a little bit.
Especially that road.
Please don't you put any markers down.
The third thing that I wanted to bring up for the people at home is, for years the Sopchoppy Senior Citizens Thrift Shop, located in Sopchoppy, has been located in those portable building right across from the old depot. Well, the city of Sopchoppy has plans for that building, and to make a long story short, the Senior Citizens Thrift Shop has relocated to the old Sopchoppy City Hall that is next to the pizza place and across from the new City Hall. So if you go to Sopchoppy and you're looking for the Senior Citizens Thrift Shop, it is relocated to Municipal Avenue in the old City Hall. They've got a lot more room in there, but they've also got some needs in that new building, and that they have a lot of clothes, but they don't have the hangers yet in order to hang the clothes up. So they've got they have a lot of things in there. I'd encourage citizens to go by and shop the things to support them. Any money spent there directly supports the Wakulla County Senior Citizens Center, but they also have some needs there as well that someone may be able to help them with. So if you go that way, go by and see the Sopchoppy Senior Citizens Thrift Shop.
I met Maxie at the old City Hall a couple weeks ago to help them resolve a drainage issue. They got that resolved.
You did. Anyway, those are the three things that I have.
I have a road issue also, and I guess mainly directed at Randy as our CRTPA and CTST rep. I got a call from a citizen, Woodville Highway at the county line, Commerce Road. A couple years ago, they put some pretty heavy-duty curbing in there, and I've been told that in a heavy rain, it really pulls up the water. And a citizen actually had an accident there. I don't know if you guys have received that call or if anyone else has complained about it.
On the state road side?
On the state road.
Because we can certainly mention that to Transfield.
Yeah.
Maybe those, if I remember right, is that where they built that turn lane? Right. They had to put the curbing over there?
That's right.
Maybe some of the
turn lane to the
are
prison, and this is on the west side of the road.
Maybe the drains are clogged. Can y'all call Transfield?
Yeah.
I feel I solved it for you.
Hopefully that'll be it. Thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So tomorrow we're going to be getting into the budget. And before I begin, happy birthday, Commissioner Thomas. And
you as well.
Happy birthday, Commissioner Moore. We apparently have 3 Virgos that disprove the horoscopes. So, or maybe I should say horoscopes. And I personally do not think that you hate me.
I don't.
But I would encourage, when we are debating issues, that we think about what a personal attack looks like and what discussing the issue with vigor looks like, and that would be my only comment to that.
I welcome any examples. If anything I said was inaccurate, I mean, I'd be glad that we
No,
can
I'm
have
not talking about inaccuracy.
we can have a discussion.
It's a difference of when we're talking about, let's say, the wetlands issue, and we're bringing up people's citizens of our county and showing their property. That's a personal attack.
No.
Okay, it may be true. It's a personal attack. Well, that's the difference. So maybe we
You have no friends that get up here and do any personal attacks?
I'm not saying that, Commissioner Thompson. See, we're now not dealing with the issue, which is to try to discuss the issues and not attack personalities or specific things of persons. It's the issues that should be discussed. That's all I want to say.
If we're going to deal with the issue, that requires a discussion, not you just giving me a diatribe of how you would like for me to act. We can have a discussion if you would like.
That's fine. That's all I wanted to say, and so maybe, okay. So the first issue I want to speak to is the issue of the budget relating to the animal control, which is going to be increased. I have been before this board numerous times with my words of caution. We hear that there's going to be a $10,000 increase to start to see if the county can do animal adoption within our county. We know that Chat, on its expenses, was spending over $100,000 a year doing its adoption of somewhere between 300 and 500 animals a year. 4-year period, over 1,500 animals, close to 16. We know that's what it took Chat to perform this. So what I'm asking is, how did we arrive, I guess I'm asking the administration, how did we arrive at that $10,000 amount, and what was that based on?
Well, I'm not quite ready for that. We're going to be prepared for that tomorrow, but the idea was it would be a pilot program. Therefore, we wouldn't be full on into a program so that we wouldn't waste county tax dollars. You got to realize we're currently, and we have since day one, paid the electric bill at both facilities. We've paid all the utilities at both facilities. All we're doing is we have a facility there. We have the need. We want to be able to apply for grants in the future because we're going to have to at some point in time. We've got to replace our kennel. It is old. We want to have the ability to apply for grants but also to do it, see if we can, because if we can't, it's not a viable option. We'll measure it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm not going to stick a whole bunch of money, and that's the reason I stuck $10,000 out there, to try it on a limited basis, to let's see how well we can do it, see what the outcome is, test market it, and then we'll come back to you guys with the results of that. If you want to do that, that's fine. If y'all don't, that's fine.
Okay.
Just that's what we were coming to you guys with.
So I'm hearing that the $10,000 figure is sort of something that's plucked out of the air and saying, let's try 10,000. And what I'm saying, if that's the case, then aren't we setting up the project to fail? If we know, based on past histories of year after year, this is the amount of money that's going to have to flow to take care of not even half of the animals. Because if we have, on 1 year, I think the number was 980 animals that came into animal control. I may be wrong on that, but that's one of the numbers I was given. If Chat adopts 400, okay, when Chat was in operation, Chat adopted out approximately 400 animals a year. Less than half of the animals coming into animal control. It cost Chat to do what it was doing $100,000 a year, okay? Now, they did fundraisers, they did all kinds of things to get it going, but that's what the flow of money
And we
was.
understand that, and that's the reason we don't have any plans to adopt 400 animals. And I understand what you're saying. We don't have those high ambitions. We want to test market this thing because we're getting the need, as well as, as you know, we have went after funds. Went after funds in every sector, and I've looked at how to go after funds on the animal control side. And every time we run into that roadblock. Do you adopt animals? No, we do not adopt animals.
My question, Howard, was I thought things we were today because that was the best way to do it, which is like Kuzikan and places like outside agencies adopt the animals out because the kill rate was high. And that's why I asked Dave, well, why are we doing this?
And we'll still utilize
Let me continue. Let me try to continue to develop this a little more. Chat was in, and I know you're going to get upset with the next statements that are coming out here.
Not at all.
Okay, great. Chat, in one form or another, existed in our county for about 20 years. During that time, I don't think the Board of Commissioners received a lot of complaint about how CHAT operated. I think to the credit of former Sheriff Harvey, he saw the value of separating the adoption side of things from the animal control side of things for various reasons, okay? We are now about to embark on an experiment of having it totally under the county, okay? And we're going to be asked to approve a plan, well, we're going to be asked to approve a budget without a plan yet of how this thing is supposed to function. I don't get it. I don't get approving money without a plan in place. Are we setting up, is the county going to be setting up a 501c3? Can the county set up a 501c? Is the county going to be doing fundraisers and all of that with the idea of, well, let's put $10,000 in the pot and see what happens? May not be a lot of money, but $10,000 is $10,000, especially when we're not giving, or we haven't been giving, our employees even cost of living raises, I think, or anything substantial. We've furloughed them in not the too distant past, and now we're about to seemingly open up a new department. I know we put this out to bid for RFPs, and we got no responses, which surprised me because I know that there are rescues that are aware that we've gone through this change, that CHAT was basically forced out of our county from the adoption side of things. Yet we had no takers, okay, of coming in there, and I'm assuming that we're offering the same thing that the county offered CHAT. We're going to let you use the building, we'll pay your utilities, come and run an adoption center. We have no takers. I have people calling me, asking me to, well, maybe it wasn't well advertised, maybe you need to put it out again. I certainly would be one for putting it out again if there was any chance of having an outside entity. I think it's not a good thing for us to go down the path of combining these things, and I think it's going to, I know people don't like to euthanize, and I know that's a really hot topic, but if the board wants to go in that direction, I don't think the board should be approving $10,000. I think it should be approving at least $30,000. And or else we've insured this project to fail. And I'm not saying that we should do that. I'd rather see the RFP get put out again and see if we can get someone to come in and help.
Here's what it boiled down to me, Howard, and I agree. My question was, I thought we had decided the best way to do this to keep the euthanasia rate as low as possible was to do the way we're doing it right now, which is have these outside groups adopt. Now, the only plus side I could see on this is checking a box in a grant, basically. I don't want to sound too cold, but he kept going back to, do you adopt? Do you adopt? And if we want to be eligible for grants to build a new whatever, dog facility, cat, whatever, I don't know. That's one of the things that you either get more points for or you have to do. And I'm going to trust that this man is not going to waste money. I know he's been called a shade tight, so I'm surprised he's even willing to spend that much on it. But I'm just going to trust him.
I got you on that.
I trust y'all have a plan, and he's not just saying, give me $10,000.
I got you on that.
I haven't given it to you guys, but you'll get it tomorrow.
Okay. You'll be up all night.
No, it's already there. I was just waiting. I gotta wait till it gets there.
Well, I have a problem with what's going on right now, and in part it dealt with the judgment that what went on in handling our adoption facility, CHAT. As I said before, CHAT, if it handled 400 dogs or animals or cats, whatever the mixture was, a year, that's 400 that animal control didn't have to worry about, okay? Now we got all of those animals coming into animal control. What was the sense of forcing out in our adoption center that seemed to work? So that troubles me.
Well,
we had
First
that
off,
direction.
they were not forced out, Dr. Kessler.
Well, if anyone looked at the 2-page contract that Chat was working under, and then looks at the 13 pages, I don't think any of us is, with any kind of sense.
It boils down to this, when we approached Chat with that contract, realize their adoptions was at 400 when you first stated there, but if you look at the last year in operation, it was 222, and they had a steady line downward in their adoption services. Our increase in our euthanasia rate had skyrocketed. Therefore, we had to do something. Therefore, brought in Kazakhstan. All of a sudden, our euthanasia rate dropped. Now, we had we realized the whole time, you guys, all of us commissioners, we're all involved. We're paying for utilities there. You started at 400, you're down to 200. What's a good use of the county facility? So therefore, we said there's got to be parameters. You don't just get something free. You got to have
Could I interrupt for
have
one second?
parameters.
Could I interrupt for 1 second? In 2013, and according to the statistics I have, there's 383 animals through Chat.
Well, the one I've got-
2012, 341.
Well, the one I've got is
2011, 383, and 2010, 480.
I've got a number different than that, but we'll compare that. But here's what the deal is we went to Chat and said, hey, that agreement said, hey, there's got to be parameters. There's got to be something that says here's what you need to. We've got this many animals coming in. We've got this many being euthanized. You need to perform at this level in order to keep the county funding. Because we got to have it where you can, or either that or we got to change the whole program up. So I went to Chat. I said, hey, here's the contract. Now it is. I said this right up front. It's hard driving contract. I don't put together stuff that's not hard driving. But let's talk about it. We're willing to negotiate this. Not a problem. You just read it. Understand, I said, whatever you do, don't react because it's hard driving, but there's some stuff in there we can work on, but realize we got to get this. Next thing I get, now I don't get a phone call that says, hey, we want to talk about it. I get a phone call that says, we're done, we'll be out in 6 weeks. Then I met with the folks, they said, we're done, we'll be out in 6 weeks. That was their decision. Their decision, Dr. Kessler, 100%. That's their decision.
If you present something like this to an organization that has been in your county for 20 years, essentially problem-free, and you present a document like this that would cost them, they're running in the red every year, that's fine, adoption centers do that, but when they're putting $20,000 or more that's not even fundraised into their budget in order to keep Chat operating, and you put a contract before them that would more than double that amount that they would have to do in order to comply with this contract. It's impossible to stay
but if I wanted to stay in business and do that, you know what I'd at least done? I'd have said, wait just a minute. Let's talk about this just a minute. But that never once.
I think it was an insult to them to provide them with.
I was told at the meeting. Listen, this is probably a good thing for us. We're moving on.
Well,
are they still involved? I think they're still involved with cat roundups and Dr. Griggs.
They do trap and release of cats right now.
I personally appreciate everything they've done over the years.
And so do I.
I do too. I do too.
I don't think anyone wants to discount.
But the net result of what's happened is we've lost an organization that, at least according to my figures, up to 2013 was averaging about 400 animals adopted a year. There was a drop-off from that 400 and something figure, and there may be various reasons for that I'm not going to get into right now.
Well, and also there was another problem. There were animals being brought into the county that are in a county facility. There was problems with that addressed that. That contract addressed that. And really the main problem in there was the performance measures. And that's where I told them, I said, we'll talk about the performance measures, but there needs to be a performance measure. If we give...
We're still talking about the past here, right?
That's right. But if we're giving a...
contract would have...
...away money, we need to have a performance measure.
It would have them neuter fix.
I don't know their group, Dr. Kessler, but maybe they can focus on other areas to help animals instead of adoption. Like, I think the spay and neuter thing is great. Rounding up stray
They are
cats.
doing that. No, they're doing whatever they're doing. I'm not part of them as far as being on the board and stuff.
on this too.
Please.
Yeah, I want to weigh in before you do. I just want to say that I'm very supportive of Chad. I think they do really great work, and it was a decision that they had made on their own. I just wanted to be clear. I as a commissioner, I don't think this commission ever voted to lose Chad or whatever. It was a decision that they made on their own, and I am supportive of Chad, but it is a decision that they did make.
I'd like to echo that. I've personally adopted 2 dogs and 2 cats from Chat, and try to participate anytime I can. Anytime they ask me to do something, I'm all in with them, and I appreciate them as well. This is not news to you, David, but David doesn't have the final say, so we do. And so, we could have absolutely overridden anything that he brought in this contract. He makes a recommendation, and we could have discussed that. I don't remember having the opportunity to do that.
I think this was brought to Chat, not to us.
Right. It was, but Chat could have brought it to us. If Chat was willing to fight for that, they could have approached for us, and we could have fought for that, and we could have overridden him. Even if he didn't like it, we could have done it. And so I do regret that conversation didn't happen.
We're under the bridge at this point, right?
Okay. It's not totally water under the bridge, because we will be voting on a budget that will include an increase
But
to
we'll
do
at least
these
have
things.
the whole background story. We'll have that. We have the whole background story.
Well, you have part of it. I encourage all of you to read the contract. Read what Chat had before. Read what Chat was proposed, and say if you were in this community for 20 years doing your good work, how would you respond?
But Dr. Kessler, still moving forward.
Right.
No matter what conclusions we come to reading that document, we still have to move forward.
Right. And I think that it's going to be hard to move forward based on the statistics that we know throughout the country on counties or municipalities of less than 100,000 to have an animal adoption center working.
Again, that was my only question to David. We don't have an county adoption center now. It doesn't cost anything, but the animals are getting adopted out through third-party groups. So basically, it's costing $0.
I would certainly support, forming an alliance with Leon County or some other county to handle that aspect of it.
I'd like to hear their plan.
Well, and it sounds to me like that alliance can be part of this plan. People have called me. They go there and they look at the animals and they say, "Well, I'd like that dog," and they say, "Well, we're not an adoption facility. You can't have that dog." And so it has to be done through a rescue agency. And so, to me, that kind of has never made sense. That if someone's willing to save that dog, why not let them take them?
We run into that every day.
It boils down to the money too. It's easy to say things like that, but if it costs $50,000 for that guy to say, "I'll take that dog," versus you got to wait a week and pick him up somewhere else, he can wait a week as far as I'm concerned.
We need to measure the cost. I'm willing to look at all options here. What this boils down to is we have a problem of people who are not conducting themselves properly, and it becomes a burden on society. And so, we can solve the problem, or we can do like some communities and ignore it, and the population explodes. And so we have to have some sort of solution.
Okay. So we'll hear the plan tomorrow. Okay. So, item number 2. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The last board meeting, I had on the agenda an item that dealt with the realignment of U.S. Highways 319 and 98 that would put that proposed intersection redirecting traffic to the Wakulla High School. We had, as a board, written a letter to FDOT asking for them to reevaluate this geometric design.
Which they did, by the way.
Okay. And I brought back a request from Secretary Nath Prasad from FDOT that really didn't go anywhere. And what I would like the board to consider is the serious nature of that intersection. And I know that everyone on this board does not want to endanger our children. That's a given, okay? But when we direct that much traffic in front of that high school, and with that traffic expected to increase as time goes on, it may not be something that we want to do, and it may not be something that we want on our backs for the future. So maybe considering that there may be potential danger to our high school students and potential congestion to commuter traffic on a daily basis, and also during evacuation routes needs, and also the $700,000 plus that our citizens are going to have to shoulder if nothing changes for moving utilities, that maybe we could consider a resolution, or discuss and consider a resolution that would mirror the letter that we sent to FDOT, and see how they would respond to that, at least to try to get the safety study analysis done. I think we need more done.
I'll make sure people are aware, when we sent that letter asking them to look at the geometric design, they actually did change the plans. The old plan had as it exists today, 319, comes in at an angle basically and goes out. With their plan they were going to do, they went down, they had a cul-de-sac. They had it blocked off in a cul-de-sac. They went back and redesigned that to keep the existing road basically where it's at, but it would only be one way. So if you're going from Crawfordville to Panacea, you can just take a right on 319, the old route.
Same path you do today.
Go right straight to it. Now, one of the big problems with safety at that intersection, and again, I'm on the community traffic safety team, is the high school kids going from Crawfordville to get to the high school during rush hour, taking a left at that intersection and having direct conflict with everybody coming from Panacea, Sopchoppy, Alligator Point, that area, taking a left trying to go north on 319. Those paths cross just like this every morning. That's a major traffic issue, that and pedestrian safety. I think we've done more than our obligation writing that letter, and I'm not going to support writing another one.
Okay. That's the two items I had.
Do we have any other things to discuss?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned. All right. Thank you.
Oh, that's good.